Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. PK Doomy here, and we're going to be doing our first tier list. I hope you're as excited as I am to do this, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is the LEAFEON tier list. So LEAFEON just came into the game, you got to try it out, see where it goes, you know what I mean? So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with Cinderace first. So with Cinderace getting that Pyro Ball buff, oof, it is so good right now. What do you guys think, A or S? I feel like A because it's just such a squishy mon that it could easily be countered, but at the same time it's also very strong on its own. It's a pretty good solo queue Pokemon to choose, so I think I'm gonna put it in S. Alright, and then we're on to Garchomp. I do feel like Garchomp's in a pretty good place right now as well. Not as good as Cinderace. It's better than some all-rounders, but I'm gonna give it A, you know. Alright, we're on to Gengar. Gengar has really been out of the picture for a while. You really haven't seen him in ranked, you really haven't seen him in tournaments. He's just, you know, been out of it. He's still such a solid Pokemon, but it's just, you really don't see him. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him in the C tier, you know. Of course we got the God tier, we got the Garbage Fire tier. Garbage Fire tier is technically the Comfy tier, but I didn't want to put that just in case anyone loves Comfy. I just don't know how you could. I mean, even with the nerf, it's still just like, it's an AFK Pokemon at the same time, you know? Excuse me. Alright, we're on to Cram. I feel like Cram is like, you don't really see him, but when you do see him, he just excels so well. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in the S tier as well, because he does really good damage. Now we're on to our support, Wigglytuff. I do like Wigglytuff. I do feel you really don't see Wigglytuff. You know, it's not really a meta right now. So I'm gonna say on its own it's not bad, but with a good teammate in lane it's pretty good. I'm gonna give it A tier just because it's pretty solid overall. We're on to Machamp. All the all-rounders are in an alright place other than Tisserina with all the nerfs. So with Machamp, I believe he should be in the A tier as well. Alright, we're on to Absol. Absol's just such an easy Pokemon to actually play on your own, solo queue, ranked, it doesn't matter. You know, you go jungle, you don't need your teammates essentially. You will need them for team fights and stuff, but Absol is just so fast with Pursuit or the other move I can't think of the name right now. But you just, nobody can escape from you, and essentially having Pursuit or the other move, you have a move booster, so it's even harder for them to catch you if you're on the run. So I just feel like Absol's in a really good place. I'm gonna put him in S tier because he's also one of my mains. Now we're on to Mr. Mime. Oh, you really don't see Mr. Mime, but especially after that last nerf where they literally nerfed his whole moveset, which absolutely was insane, and I feel like he didn't deserve that big of a nerf. So at the time I'm gonna put him here because he's unplayable for most players, unfortunately. Normally I'd put him in at least C if I was playing him, but for most players that are new to the game, they're just gonna have a tough time with him, especially solo queuing. I feel like Venusaur has always been good. It's been very solid, whether you go Petal Dance, Giga Drain, or Solar Beam. You know, essentially they're both pretty great. Either way you can carry with it. I think I have, with my Venusaur, I have the highest win rate with over 80%, which is pretty insane. So he's very solid. Of course, only one Pokemon is going to be going in the God tier, because there can only be one God, you know? So let's see, we're on to Lucario. I feel like Lucario's in a good place. You really don't see him, but I'm going to give him also A. I feel like a lot of the all-rounders might end up in A because they're all pretty much solid. I would like to put Zacian on the Garbage Fire because he does deserve a nerf, but at the same time, he is S tier. So we're going to go ahead and put him there. We're skipping the line a little bit. We're going to go to Talonflame next, but we're going to go skip to Zacian. Alright, now we're on to Talonflame. Talonflame is also a really good solo queue Pokemon that you can just, you don't even need your team until like the team fights, of course. And you know, with its Unite, being able to push, push off the pad and stuff, pushing enemies out of the way, the high damage, using fly to escape, and the movement boost it gets from his own passive on top of, like, most people usually build like float stone on it. So imagine the passive with a float stone. It's so fast, and it just has such good scoring, you know. So like every time I play Talonflame, I probably score 250 and above, and I feel like I'm not even trying to score that much really. So we're gonna go ahead and put Talonflame in A tier. Could be higher, but in fights, there's better options, unfortunately. Eldegoss, I feel like Eldegoss has always been good. When I first started playing Pokemon Unite, I was Eldegoss, Absol, and I just feel like Eldegoss has always been good. Even with the nerfs, the buffs, it's always been in a solid place between the heals, the damage. I mean, people will be building full damage on Eldegoss and it's still solid. They be pulling healing, you know, defensive, helping out the teammates, and it's still solid. So I'm going to put an A tier just because I feel like Eldegoss is a good support. Now we're on to Greninja. Greninja can easily 1v4 depending on the player and the skill level. And but he does a massive damage. He's very good at escaping, blinding the enemy with that fog move. I can't think of the name of it. I don't know why. You know, whether you use Surf or Shuriken, you know, Surf is just so quick. You get him out of the way. It's high damage. You hit one Surf, you can go into another Surf, So it really has big potential. And that's why I think Greninja, other than being really squishy, he deserves S tier, but I'm gonna put him in A tier for now. And then with Crustle, we're on to Crustle now, onto our first defender. So with Crustle, excuse me, I think Crustle is good. You know, I mostly go X-Scissor, of course. And I just feel like it's a good disruptive move that can move the enemy off the pad, which is very good for the team. So I'm gonna put Crustle in B tier because there are better options for defenders right now, unfortunately, like Trev or Lapras or Slowbro, of course, you know? I mean, Slowbro should be in God tier, but there's gonna be one God tier. So we're gonna see who gets that spot. They're gonna be putting Crustle in B tier. Now we're on to Snorlax. I feel like Snorlax is in such a tough place. You really don't see him as much. You know, I don't know, he might need a buff. You know, it's pretty easy to escape. His moves are pretty solid for the most part. It just depends how you build your emblems. But the whole point is being able to catch the enemy with him. That's the thing with him. So, but I do feel like he's still really good. You know, there are really good Snorlax players out there. So I'm gonna put Snorlax in B as well, just because I feel like there's still better options for defenders, unfortunately. Now with Charizard, I would put him in C tier, but since he got that buff to his Unite, and I think of the damage buff, I'm feeling like it could be A, you know, because like his Unite can literally take out a whole team, and it goes over so well. It really does. So for having that kind of, you know, placement, that kind of power, that kind of ability to make those big moves, we're gonna put him in A for that. Alola Ninetales has always been extremely solid. We're on to our attackers now. Alola Ninetales has always been extremely solid. You know, whether you go Icy Wind or you go Aurora, you know, they're both extremely good. I prefer the attack speed, as you see with most of my gameplays. I always play attack speed at low end. I will try the other one, but I do go attack speed more often than not. So I believe Alolan, easily S tier, is just such a good Pokemon. It can, you know, 1v1. It is a little squishy, so, you know, with my attack speed, I always put like Muscle with Rapid and then Focus Band. Just because that Focus Band with that HP, that defense, it keeps you in the fight a little bit longer. And that fight, whenever you're freezing the enemy non-stop and you have those 2 attack speed items increasing your speed that much on top of Aurora, it really does help a lot. Now Pikachu, I've been playing Pikachu a lot lately, just because I'm getting ready to do a guide for it and everything like that. I'm working on that right now. And yes, Pikachu is very squishy. He doesn't really have mobility in terms of escaping, other than, of course, his held item, depending on which one you go. And but his damage potential, his like working with your teammates, is pretty solid. So I'm gonna have to go with A tier for Pikachu, because I do feel like he's actually in a good spot right now. Like he's balanced but not unbalanced. Like he's not too powerful, but he's also not too weak. You know, it kind of balances out his power for his squishiness and the not really escape abilities. So Zera, I feel like Zera's in a wonky place, kind of, because you really don't see it other than like Zera mains. And when you do see a Zera main, they do amazing. But when you see an average player, beginner player, oof, not too good, you know? I'm gonna put Zera in a B tier just because I don't play Zera that much, to be honest. We're at Gardevoir now. Gardevoir is an amazing AoE attacker, really is. Stuns, AoE, you get that little movement boost whenever you hit your abilities, which is pretty nice. But I feel like you don't really see Gardevoir as much. You see everyone going Glaceon, Espeon, of course, because those are just the meta attackers right now. And so I feel like with Gardevoir, I'm gonna put in an A tier. I feel like that's a pretty solid spot for it. And then let's see here, we got Blissey. Blissey is just such a good support overall. I mean, with the heals, protecting your teammates, you name it. I feel like Blissey is a really good support overall. And, you know, it can just make it happen sometimes. There'll be team fights and Blissey just saves the team from getting KO'd because of like 2-3 unites at the same time. You think your team's about to get KO'd and then bam, Blissey unites, saves the whole team. You know what I mean? Blastoise, in my opinion, I feel like Blastoise is weak, but then whenever I do face him, I always have a hard time escaping from rapid fire, and it does kind of destroy the characters I play. But I do play squishy mons, so I do play a lot of Sable, I play a lot of Pikachu, and other mons, of course, but I do play a lot of those too, and they are pretty squishy. Even with Focus Man and Aeos Cookie, they're not as tanky as other mons potential. So I feel like that, and also his Surf is pretty good for disrupting, for moving the enemy off pad, moving them off your pad or the enemy pad to score or defend. And so I feel like that is in a good spot. Its Unite is also pretty solid, giving the shield, doing the toss up, you know. So I'm going to put Blastoise in. I'm going to put him in A tier. I just feel like he's good at defender, but also he does good damage. Now we're at Mamoswine. I love Mamoswine. I feel like it's a fun defender for me. Are there better choices? Of course. So I feel like Mamoswine is not in the best place right now, and that's why you really don't see him. You see everyone, of course, going Lapras, Goodra, Umbreon, of course, because Umbreon's new and also really good with Mean Look, and it just shuts down the team, or not the team, but one of them at least, you know. And not being able to escape and then having like 3-4 Pokemons hitting you at the same time while you're stuck in Mean Look is really tough. So with Mamoswine, I'm going to put him in B tier because he can do stuff. His ult is pretty solid. I love his Ice Fang. I think B tier. Now Sylveon I feel like is a really good attacker. I feel like I'm saying this for all of them, but it really is, because whether you go Hyper Voice at super high damage or you go Mystic Fire or Mystical Fire, and just Mystical Fire with the I can't think of the name, but the healing ability that goes with it, the Kissing one. That one is just, you know, being able to jump with Mystic Fire, the auto aim, and then the auto aim with the healing. It's really solid and does a lot of damage. So I'm feeling like Sylveon's easily S tier just because it's a good place. You just got to build it right. And then with Greedent, I despise Greedents. I despise them because they always invade and they're super annoying. You know, they score so much. They're so hard to catch. They're so fast, unfortunately. Of course, you have Dutrio, then you got a chance of catching it, but you're not always playing Dutrio, are you? So with Greedent, I feel like it's S tier, even though I do not like Greedent. I mean, it's a cute mon. Of course, I like it on my team, but when I face it, I don't care for it. Now we're on to this Decidueye, and Decidueye is just by himself is just not that good. You really need an all-rounder or a defender or even a support just to disrupt, get in the way, block for you, because he's just so squishy. Yes, he's got some movement. Yeah, his snipes are pretty solid. His unite can always secure Ray pretty much. And so I do feel like he is good for that. But other than that, I love Decidueye. Don't get me wrong. I love the snipes. I just feel like he could be in a better place than he is right now. So I'm going to give him B tiered. Now we're on to Tisrina. Oh, I'm not good with Tarina. I'm not good with her. And at all, unfortunately. I probably need to practice more, try different builds, see what is to my liking, what works with me. But I just feel like with all these nerfs that it's gotten, it's in a really bad place. I mean, there are still some players that do really well with it, but you know, I've seen some people that can 1v4 with it, but with all these nerfs, you really don't see that anymore. And I'm gonna have to give it C, you know. Even though one of my viewers, Bonbon, is her main, she's got a gold badge with and everything. I'm sorry, Bonbon, but C tier it is. Now we're on to Dragonite. Dragonite's another all-rounder, of course. And I like Dragonite, you know, whether you go Hyper Beam or you go can't think of the name of the other move, but they're both solid over the wall. Huge damage, good escapes, good chase downs. I mean, it is hard to escape from a Dragonite. It really is. And he just, especially I can't think of the name of the move. It's not the Hyper Beam, it's the other one where he like stomps and stuff and just mashes you. That one with the stuns and stuff is so hard to escape. It does such good damage. It goes well with crits, you know, the basic attacks. It is crazy good. And how you can just keep going with it. So, I mean, it does take a little bit of skill, but I do feel like Dragonite could easily, with a skilled player, be S tier. But with an average player, I'm going to go with A tier. Alright, now we're on to Trev. Trev is just such a good defender, especially after he got that latest buff. And I mean, you were seeing him non-stop in every single game, and he was, you know, doing as much damage as he was taking the damage as healing. Like, he was doing 100k in each one with a good player, and it was just crazy good. Of course, he got the nerf, but I still feel like Trev is such a good with his hammer, just the stuns, with the thorn move where he like pushes you. They're both really good for helping out the team, which is, as a defender, you need to do. It's good for disrupting, it's good for moving. You also get heals, and just being able to stun and do that huge AoE is just really good, and can set up a good, you know, if you have a good all-rounder or a good attacker with you, of course, it can really set up for them if you guys play it right. So I'm going to put Trev in S tier because I do feel like he's a really good Mon. Now we're on to Aegislash. There are really good Aegislashes out there, but I personally feel he's in a bad spot, and I like him. I don't think I've ever played too crazy with him that it's like, oh my god, wow, that I'll main it. But I'm gonna have to get S tier for that, just because I just feel like it's not in a good place right now. Now we're at Hoopa. Hoopa is just an amazing support. It really is. Being able to transport your teammates back and forth from the home respawn base and back into the fight, like that is just, it's really good. You just keep healing. It's hard to KO the team when they got a good Hoopa. A good Hoopa can carry in terms of that. They might not do as much damage as their attacker or all-rounder. They're definitely not going to be tanking the damage like most players, but them being able to do that, to keep their teammates in the fight that long, being able to get them out and back in immediately, is just really good. So I'm gonna have to put Hoopa in S tier. I said Hoopa, but I meant Hoopa. Now Dura, I like Dura. I've never had any crazy plays with him. I'm just like, oh my god, 1v5 or 1v4, 1v3 even. You know, maybe a 1v3, I just don't remember. I don't know. I mean, they say he's good. I really don't run into too many good players with him. He's pretty easy to counter, to jump on really quick. He's pretty slow. He doesn't really have much mobility. So for Dura, I'm gonna have to give him B tier, just because I feel like that's in the spot he is, in my opinion, of course. You guys can comment down below what you think, of course. Now we're on to Meryl. Meryl's, you really don't see it, but it still does amazing damage, you know. Those crits, those chase downs, and Meryl just feels so tanky. But it can also be pretty much countered at this point, so I'm gonna have to put Meryl on B tier for now. Now, if Espeon still had that huge buff it had before the nerf, Espeon would be automatically S tier, but I'm gonna put it in A tier because it's as of right now. But I do love Espeon, it is really good. I don't go, well, I forgot the name of the move that was so buffed. I usually play Stored Power now because they just nerfed the other one so much. But Espeon is still such a high damage dealer. It is a really good DPS. And it is, you know. Now we're on to Delphox. With Delphox, I feel like Delphox is solid. I really love Delphox's Unite. But I don't know. It does the damage. It's good with team fights if you're able to stay behind. You got a good defender, a good all-rounder, someone to tank that for you. It can be really good. It can be really solid. It can shut down teams with its Unite being so spread. You know, the AoE is just so huge on it. And securing objectives, securing Ray, it can really help with that. And also keeping the enemy team off objectives because they don't want to be sitting in that Unite just taking damage. And then for your teammates to jump on them, of course. So we're going to put Delphox. Ooh, I'm kind of around A. I'm thinking A. Now, Glaceon's automatically S tier because of Icicle Spear is just so good right now. Also, Icy Wind is really good. Even though with the nerf of Icy Wind, it's still really good right now. And of course, everyone is playing Icicle Spear because Icicle Spear is absolutely broken right now. And, but yeah, Glaceon is easily S tier for sure. Now we're on the Buzzwole. Buzzwole is about to get a huge buff, which will make it God tier. But as of right now, I'm feeling like he is A tier, maybe B tier. We're gonna go with B tier maybe, because I don't know. I think A tier might be better. I'm kind of conflicted. I'm between A and B for Buzzwole. But once he does get that buff, I'll definitely put him in S because that buff is just going to make him so much stronger, more damage, the heals. It's going to be crazy good. And of course, it's going to be meta. So, but as of right now, with LEAFEON's release, we're going to put Buzzwole in, I don't know. I feel like Buzzwole's still solid right now. I'm going to put it in A. Now, unfortunately for Tyranitar, I love Tyranitar. It's such an awesome mon. It's really good in team fights. It's really good late game, extremely good late game. It's like a raid boss late game. You know, that's how good it is. But until it gets to level 9, it is unfortunately pretty much useless in the beginning. Like, it's not really good for team fights. You have to get so much XP on Tyranitar to get to level 9, and it is crazy. You have to run jungle. And you can't really, of course you can gank top or bottom lane and help out as much as possible. But, is it going to work out every time? Not really. You got to be a really skilled player to make Pupitar and, I can't think of the stage 1's name, sorry. The stage 1 or stage 2. It is really hard to make it work. And unless you're really skilled, it's not going to work out usually. So, unfortunately, I'm going to put Tyranitar. I want to put it in Garbage Fire because can you afford for one of your teammates to be useless till level 9? Not really. You really can't. You know, because imagine they end up implementing this into more mons where they're super good late game, but then they're useless till level 9. Like, imagine you had 2 or 3 teammates like that. You guys would be completely behind. I know that Ray makes such a huge difference, but you guys would be completely behind the whole game, and they could just be scoring non-stop, ganking each lane, just taking over, breaking the pads, you know, you name it. So I'm gonna have to put Tyranitar in C tier. I would be putting Garbage Fire, but I don't feel like Tyranitar deserves that. I also don't feel like Mr. Mime deserves that, but with that, with them nerfing Mr. Mime's whole moveset, it just, even his Unite, come on. It just, even though his Unite is still pretty solid now. It's not really KO solid, but it is still solid in terms of what it can do and set up for the teammates. Mew is such a skilled mon to use, really. So for Mew, I feel like it's not as good as it was, but I'm gonna put Mew in A tier, even though it could easily be S tier with a little bit of a bust, because being able to change your moveset from Surf to Solar Beam to Electro Ball is just really good. Its Solar Beam is so much longer than Venusaur's. I feel like it does more damage sometimes, and I'm gonna have to put an A tier because it is a pretty, well, I mean, it does have really good escape and the barrier. So I feel like in a skilled person's hands, it's easily S tier, but in an average player, I'm gonna go with A tier. And I guess we'll just put an S tier for now. And then Dutrio, I love Dutrio. I think Dutrio is amazing. It's a really good mon. Its moveset is really good, from drill peg to double jump to agility to its Unite. They're all really good. It's just so easy to get around the map. The score, like its passive, being able to score like that, splitting the time in 1/3 is amazing. And then just being able to really set up for your teammates like that, I'm gonna put Dutrio in S tier. Now Scizor, with that buff it gotten recently, it is such a powerhouse, but also feels so tanky like a defender because it just keeps getting the HP back. You really got to 1v3 it, you know, because it can still 1v2 easy. And so I feel like Scizor is in such a good place right now. A little overpowered, but not as weak as it used to be. So I'm gonna put it in S tier. Now of course there's Scyther. I feel like Scyther is also in a good place, but I'm gonna give for Scyther A tier. And then we're at Clefable, because they don't have the Scyther emblem here. We're at Clefable. Clefable is an amazing support, you know, just that moon, the moon healing ability is really good. You stack it, it goes well. You know, you can keep teammates alive. Its Unites are not, you really can't be sure. You're not always sure what you're gonna get. So I'm gonna put Clefable in A tier because of that. Because other than healing and its gravity, well, I don't know. Its gravity really does shut down like Zoroark, Sableye. It shuts down anyone with mobility, which is really good. I don't know. I think it maybe it deserves S because it does good healing, and then gravity. It's good setup. You really good setup for your teammates extremely well. I love Zoroark. Oh, Zoroark is such a good mon. I love its combos. I always go Night Slash. A lot of people go Feint Attack because it's a lot easier. It does more damage, but I just enjoy the Night Slash combo so much more. It is really easy to get knocked out of the Night Slash combo. And as well as the Feint Attack, you can kind of get out of it because instead of like going back and forth one way, you just go sideways or something, or you go the other way, and you can kind of counter it that way, getting out of it easy. And it easily is shut down by gravity, unfortunately. And once you shut down Zoroark's combo, he's on that cooldown, and then he is weak. Yes, he can base attack, but he is so squishy. So I'm gonna put Zoroark in A tier. I kind of feel like B tier right now. I mean, it does high damage, so it kind of complements its squishiness, but then also the way you can easily shut it down. You really can. I don't know. I feel like I'm between A and B, really. For Sableye, I am a Sableye main, but with all the nerfs Sableye's had, you really don't see it. I can still play alright with it, whether I go Shadow Sneak, or Knock Off, or Confuse Ray, or Feint Attack. I feel like either way I do pretty well with it myself, but you really don't see it most of the time. It's about to get another nerf, so I'm going to give it C tier for now, and then once it does get that nerf, I'll do an update tier list, and he will unfortunately be in Garbage Fire. So we got Urshifu. There's only one emblem there. So for Water Bear Urshifu, we're putting him in S tier. And then for like Heavy Strike Dark Urshifu, we're putting him in A tier. So let's go ahead and put that there for now. We're at Dragapult now. Dragapult is such a high damage dealer, really good attack speed. Its Unite is really quick. You can get really good damage with Dragapult. You know, he's got good escape abilities, turning invisible, or the one, what's the name? I can't think of the name of the ability for some reason. It's on the top of my head. But I feel like with that, being able to do so much damage, good escape abilities, is going to be an S tier, even though it is really squishy. So, and then Comfy deserves garbage tier, unfortunately, because in solo queue, Comfy is useless. Like, unless your teammate is solid or actually good with them on, your Comfy is going to keep getting KO'd because whoever you're connected to is getting KO'd, and it's just not going to work out for you. You're not going to be doing damage. You're not going to be winning. You're not going to be getting stuff done with Comfy unless you have a good teammate. And you don't always duo queue or trio queue or have a 5 stack. Sometimes you solo queue. So I do feel like Comfy on its own is useless. But with a good mon, it does overpower it to the point that it feels like a raid boss. And especially like combined with Zacian, Buzzwool, Lapras, Gudra, Slowbro, Trev, Greedent, even do trio. Like, it just makes them so much stronger. Urshifu especially. Gudra, I feel like is in such a good place right now. I'm gonna give it S tier. Oops, sorry. And then we're on to Lapras. Lapras is also in such a good place, even with its nerf. It is still really good. I prefer a Water Pulse over Parasong still, even now after the nerf. And I just do so much damage. I'm so tanky with Lapras. I'm gonna give it S tier. Chandelure is good in good hands. You know what I mean? Like a skilled player. But on its own, it's not. You know, it's I mean, it does high damage. I'm gonna have to give it A tier just because I feel like that's where it's at right now. Now we're on to Umbreon, and then we'll do Slowbro, and then LEAFEON will be last. So with Umbreon, Umbreon is just such a powerhouse right now. It's new, of course. It's overpowered, of course. Not exactly like overpowered, but its mean look, its foul play, it could shut down. It really does shut down. It can 1v1 anyone almost. And having Wish, having that, like, you know, you got that defender, you got that support, you got that attack in you. And, you know, even with its foul play, you got movement, you know? So you got movement. You could have heals. You could have, you know, shutting them down with disrupting them, holding them in place with mean look. It's really good place. I'm going to give it S tier. Now we're at Slowbro. I should just go ahead and put Slowbro on God tier, right, guys? Should I? Comment down below. Slowbro has always been good. He's always been in a good place, in my opinion. And he's really good either whether you go Surf or Scold. I always go Scold. I like Scold a lot better than Surf. But he's just so tanky. He can really take damage for a while. So I'm gonna put him in S tier because he is a really good defender. Look at that. 6 defenders in S tier. Is this the defender meta or what? Now we're on to LEAFEON, our last but not least. Our newest mon. Our best speedster right now until it is nerfed. LEAFEON is just crazy good right now. I'm seeing people get 22 KOs in not bot matches, in ranked matches against real players. 17 KOs, over 100,000 easy damage. And LEAFEON is just so quick. It does so much damage right now. You don't even need to build that much attack on it because it still does so much damage. Like, I'm seeing people go on attack weight, which is really good attack item. But then they're combining it with Focus Band and Amplifier, Buddy Barrier, or stuff like that, which is not really increasing his attack other than his Unite. Now, that's a really good build right there for LEAFEON, actually. Buddy Barrier, Amplifier, and attack weight, because then Amplifier amplifies your Unite as well as the recharge time for it. And LEAFEON's Unite is really good. Like, that first hit doesn't do as much damage. But if it hits that second attack and it does it so quickly that it usually hits, that is what does the massive damage. And with that amplifier increasing it, then your attack weight and your buddy barrier, so because LEAFEON is a speed sword, so it is squishy, but it is just so fast and does so much damage that it can knock them out before they even get the chance to really fight back, unless they have a lot of AoE. And you know, they got to have a teammate hitting that same area at the same time for you to even have a chance. But you still might get the KO before you get KO'd, and with buddy barrier it gives you that chance to escape because you get that shield, that HP increase. So LEAFEON is in God tier right now. It really is. I mean, there are just so many people getting crazy damage, crazy KOs with it, crazy assists, and scoring nonstop. No, I haven't had a game where I can escape from a LEAFEON because they're just so fast. Now, of course, I wasn't playing Dutrio or Talonflame, which are easy to escape with. But yeah, that's my tier list. This is the LEAFEON tier list update, and then once they come out with that new update, we'll be doing a new tier list. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to press that like button, subscribe, and if you feel like it, go ahead and share, you know, help out. Why not? Y'all have a good one.